So moments ago, the White House saying, quote, "We've never been this close to peace," as President Trump reveals he spoke with Ukrainian President Zelensky for about an hour earlier today on the heels of his phone call with Putin yesterday. Trump posted on Truth Social that we are very much on track for a ceasefire. Here he is with Laura Ingraham last night.
We have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly because it would have never happened if I were president. We want to get it over with. Look, we're doing this. There are no Americans involved. There could be if you end up in World War III over this, which is so ridiculous. But, you know, strange things happen.
Okay, let's bring in General Keith Kellogg, special envoy to Ukraine. He was on the president's call with Zelensky today. General, great to have you with us. How would you characterize that phone call after that pretty rocky Oval Office meeting several days back?
Yeah, thanks, Martha. Thanks for having me. I think the call was absolutely great. Look, this has been really quite amazing to me. I was on a Fox program about 2 months ago, and somebody asked me the question, where would you like to be in the Ukrainian-Russia war ceasefire? I said within the first 100 days. We're at day 58. And you've got President Trump already talking to Putin and Zelensky as well. And President Trump's absolutely right. This war wouldn't have started if he was president, but it's been passed to him, and he's got it. And he's moving really, really hard to get it done. And today was just another example. And I think he's really got the teams working exceptionally well. I looked around the Oval today, Martha, and I looked at, we had Secretary Rubio there. It was Mike Waltz was there. You had the Vice President there. You had the Secretary of Defense there. You had the CIA Director there. You had Stephen Miller there. You had Dan Scavino there. You had Susie Wiles there. You talk about an all-star team, and they were all talking and working together and really pulling together. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to head to technical talks. That's a term where you actually have the talks from both sides sitting down to how we get to a comprehensive ceasefire, which leads you to a peace treaty. And we're only at day 58. Okay. And he's driven that. And the talks today were exceptional.
Let me ask you a few questions about this, and we'll put up on the screen the number of drones and missiles that were flying back and forth between Ukraine and Russia, after this discussion of ceasefire. But I don't doubt that the team is excellent and that they're all on the same page at the White House. But the issue is with Vladimir Putin and what he will do and how he sees all of this. This is the map of new Russia as he sees it. This is what he desires. He has said he wants to see only a very limited number of Ukraine military soldiers allowed to exist. He doesn't want any European peacekeeping forces on the ground there. What has budged or changed on the Putin side of the equation?
Well, I think what's changed is the fact you're going into negotiations, and everybody's going to come to an extreme side on both sides, because you have to understand that when negotiations occur. And like what happened last night, the ceasefire started, a lot of those drones were already in the air. Some of those drones take 6 hours to get to target. And those will all happen, the major attacks within an hour of the discussion. So I think everybody has to calm down a bit. Ceasefires are a little bit messy at the start. They're going to calm down. Both sides are going to get together. You're going to get to these complex negotiations. Hopefully starting next week in Saudi Arabia. You come up with your term sheets, what it looks like at the end, and then you go to comprehensive ceasefire. So I'm not very concerned about it. I think it's going to occur. It's going to happen. I actually have the privilege of working for the ultimate deal maker in President Donald J. Trump, and I think that's going to happen. It hasn't happened before. It hasn't happened in the last 3 years. You're reaching a point where you've got somebody that's driving it, and it's going to occur. So they're going to come with positions, and he's going to come in with positions.
Obviously, President Trump wants to see the killing end in this war. And, I think that one of the biggest questions that remains is if that is what Vladimir Putin wants. He's putting, North Korean soldiers are climbing through, energy pipes and coming out the other side. Ukraine has lost most of the Kursk territory that they had. And you brought up today that President Trump brought up the children who were taken from Ukraine into Russia. Did he bring up those children when he spoke with Putin, and did he ask for them to be returned, and what was the response?
Well, look, I don't want to talk about what he talked about with Putin, because that's his discussion with the president of Russia. But here's what amazed me when he was talking about it. That was brought up by President Trump. That goes into his understanding of the details, because when he was talking with President Zelensky, They talked about the children that were removed from Ukraine into Russia. And they had a very substantive conversation about bringing those children back and what does it mean. And it was an engaging conversation. But what I thought was amazing during that discussion is where they dropped to. What I mean by drop to, they got into levels of discussion that most people don't talk about. He wasn't talking about the territory of Luhansk or Donetsk or Zaporizhia or the Kherson Oblast or states. He was talking about the children. He was talking about ending the war. He was talking about the carnage and how to end all that. And this is where that conversation went. And I think it was very positive.
Let me ask you this, General. Is Zelensky amenable to giving up the Luhansk and Donetsk region?
Well, I think those are part of the discussions. You know, Luhansk right now is fully occupied by the Russians. Right. Donetsk is not, Zaporizhia is not, and neither is Kherson. And those are going to be the discussions that are going to be taking place. And I think President Zelensky has always indicated that there's going to be a potential not annexation of territory, but an occupation of territory. You know, there's a huge difference, Martha, between what's called de jure and de facto. De facto is you actually sit on it. De jure means you actually annex it. It goes back to what we call the Wells Doctrine after World War II, when the Soviets actually occupied the Baltic states. We never agreed that they actually annexed them. We said they occupied them. That's de facto, not de jure.
It's a fine point that is very important to make, General. I'm glad you made it, because Zelensky has sort of suggested that accepting where the Russians are is part of the equation, but it does not mean that they would accept it as no longer Ukraine territory and that they would push to get it back eventually. And we'll see what that looks like. General Keith Kellogg, always good to have you with us. Are you going to be at the table for the Saudi discussions as well that you just mentioned?
Well, the teams are going to go there. Those are the lower, not lower level, I mean, but those are the teams that are really negotiation teams out there. And will I have my people on that team? Yes, I will. But also Mike Waltz will have his NSC team, and Secretary Rubio will have his team as well. It's a very, very good team effort. I mean, it would make, if America really saw that team on the ground, they'd be pretty darn proud of it, because not only are they smart, but they're really good at what they can do.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good to hear. And we hope that the team on the Russian side will come to the table with some desire to work towards real peace and a solution for Ukraine as well that would give them the ability to have some security guarantees. General, I hope you'll come back. Obviously, a lot more to discuss with regard to this, and it's wonderful to see you. Thank you, General.
Thanks, Martha.